to actually give you the most efficient aspect of this tailor's approach. And then finally, establish fair levels of performance and pay. Well, sometimes they may have higher levels of performance and pay if certain staff actually serve X number of customers within a given time period. So managers could say, if you hit X number of staff, they could give you a reward in some shape or form. So here we can see that Taylor's approach in McDonald's in terms of serving customers has been scientifically done and broken down. If we look at the fryer station, how do they make the fryers? Well, the first thing is they will have a rack of fryers, and they may have a rack of 8 baskets or 10 baskets, and then someone will place an order for the chips, the fryers. The first thing the person would do on the fryer station is to shake the basket, stage 1, codifying it into rules and regulations according to Taylor's scientific approach. The next thing they would do is put the basket in the oil, start from right to left, so you know which basket's gone down, and then press the button. And then the next thing is to do is wait for the buzzer to go off. Once the buzzer goes off, lift the basket up and put it into its holding part. Next stage is to shake the basket so that the excess oil goes on. The next stage is to pour the fryers into the fryer station. The next stage is to salt from right to left, from back to front, right to left. The next stage is to pack the chips. So, and the way you pack it, small, medium and large, and the way you pack it is you get the small packet, you put it in the spatula, and then you bang it down, and then you fill it up with chips, then you shake it for the excess chips to fall off, and then you put it on the fryer station on the front from right to left.
Based on the sizes of the...
Based on the sizes, from small, medium and large. So we can see...
Sorry, when you say from right to left, so if they are small, you have right to left, or you have like a roll of this is small, this is medium, this is large.
Yes, so the medium, so the first 2 rows for our argument will be for the small fryers, the next row will be for the medium, and then the final row will be for the large.
So it
Extra
goes
large.
front and then back.
Yes.
And then you keep feeding them that way.
Yes. So here we can see another process. So I've looked at 2 processes there, and there are other processes in the production of and producing the hamburgers, how the hamburgers are produced. Again, the order will come up on the screen of how many hamburgers to put down. The hamburgers will then be put down, and then the next stage is to put some salt on the hamburger. The next stage is to put a little bit of, to bring down the table, the spatula, the thing that cooks it on both sides, lift it up, put on the onions. At the same time, the buns would have been put down. And then when the buns come out with the trays, the hamburgers are then put with the spatula on the buns. And then you have a spatula with the onions and gherkin and ketchup. Okay? And then the bun is then, that whole bun plate is then given to someone else to wrap up. And then that is then put in the production bin. So you see how the stages, and it's all done in the same way. You don't miss out any of those stages. Every single employee does it in the same way, and does it in the same stages, with the same times, and in the same method, each time, which maintains the quality. Okay? So I've given you 3 examples of 3 different stations in the cooking side of McDonald's restaurants in terms of using Taylor's scientific approach. What about lean? So now we need to use a second operations principle. And another operations principle that I'm looking at is lean. What is lean?
This is a systematic way of eliminating waste.
Yes. Lean is about eliminating waste. Waste that we can get from where?
From the warehouse.
From the warehouse,
From staffing.
from stock, from staffing, from wastage, from defects. And we have waste all the time. And lean is all about removing that waste. Okay, so we have the lecture slides here in terms of inventory in the stock room, which is growing. And inventory has a lot of costs associated to it. You have the stock, which is on the shelf, which is costing. You have the person who has to put that stock on the shelf. You have the stock which is not being sold, not being used, so you've got money tied up in capital expenditure. You have the storage area that you need to pay for,
Space.
the space, and also the person who's going to pick and pack that stock, you're going to need to pay them. And as well as the IT department to put it on the IT systems to know exactly where the stock is and what location, and also the stock code. So there are all associated costs with having an inventory. And if you have too much inventory, then you're wasting money. You're not being lean. Again, lean in terms of the amount of people that we hire. We've merged 2 classrooms here today with 2 different classes. Now, if we had 2 separate classes, what would that mean for the college?
More classes,
More expenses,
more teachers.
more teachers, and less consistency. Because maybe different people are doing different things. Okay? And we don't need to have that as long as we can fit it in one classroom within its allocated resources. And if we can do that, then it's fine. Okay? But if the classroom was too big, then what would happen then?
You get inefficiency too.
That would be inefficient as well.
Diminishing return.
Because then the students would, yes, diminishing returns. Then the students may not be happy. And you may not get the one-to-one with the teacher to student that you need. If there were too many. So it's a balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay? So what is lean then? What is lean?
A systematic approach in identifying and eliminating waste.
Good. Superb. It's a systematic approach of identifying and eliminating waste. And how do we do that?
By continuously improving our
Good.
processes.
Good. By continuously improvement. And if we go to the lecture slides on continuous improvement, so in essence, the lecture slides state 5 different stages of continuous improvement, but 5, or these can be grouped into 3. And basically, continuous improvement is looking at a process and pulling it all apart and saying, how can we do that better? How can we do it better? What can we do? And there are 3 different levels. The first level is by saying, oh, members of staff normally go around and say, oh, if we did this, this would improve it. If we did this, we can improve upon this. Okay? Come in, please, sit down. So these are different ways at a basic level that continuous improvement occurs. The next level is to say, well, yes. The next way is to say that what we need to do is to have teams of people and to go round and to see how certain things can be improved upon. And then the final way is to say, let's take the directors who take the leadership, who take the direction, and the directors and the leaders say, we need to have continuous improvement in the whole organisation as a way of thinking, as a philosophy, in everything that we need to do. We need to continually improve. But what are the negative sides about continuous improvement? Why don't people continuously improve? People are resistant to change. Resistant to change. Okay. And this is the biggest barrier. So what does it require? What is it? How do we get people training? In order to get people to change, they need training and motivation and confidence. Okay? Just like as you started off, didn't like Google Docs or Google Classroom, and you were resistant to change, but now you've got it. Okay, so what's the next thing that we need to do? So you've talked about lean and you talked about continuous improvement. What's the next thing that you need to talk about? No, you need to relate it to McDonald's. So if we look at the McDonald's shape, here in McDonald's, so when McDonald's first started, where do they used to buy their food from? Suppliers. And their beef from suppliers, their chicken from suppliers, their buns from suppliers. Where else do they used to buy it from? Cups, everything from suppliers, yes? And then McDonald's grew. And then what happened then? What did they decide to do? Yes, they decided to continually improve. They decided to continually improve their process. So what did they do? What did they incorporate?
They decide to have a farm.
Yes, they decided to vertically integrate backwards into the supply chain. And they decided to start their own farms. They have huge, hundreds of thousands of acres of land in America with their own farms. Farms all over the world, do you understand? And they produce their own cattle. They rear their own cattle. They feed their own cattle. What else? What other farms do they have? Farms for what?
Chicken.
Chickens. They have their own farms for chickens as well. And what about all their cups and all the things that they produce, that they use? What happens there? Do they go to a supplier? No. They have their own manufacturing factories to produce their own bags with their own logos on and everything else. They do everything in-house. They do everything. So what is this saving them? Saving them